My initial apprehension towards this Disney and BBC co-production was apparently well-founded. What in the hell is this barmy balami?
It's an empire now, isn't it? And before it was just a kingdom.
So this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause.
Why is David Tennant on a green screen breaking the fourth wall? What is essentially a recap for Donna's tenure as the Doctor's companion. It really doesn't belong here in the episode itself. This intro was jarring to say the least. Don't believe me? Here, I'll show you how jarring it can be. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Did It Suck, a review series where we criticize and overanalyze TV shows and movies. But mainly Doctor Who. I've been reviewing Doctor Who for 9 years now, and I have watched a very slim amount of classic Doctor Who, and it will probably remain that way for the foreseeable future. Basically, don't take my word as gospel. This is all just one man's opinion. We've got new videos coming out every week, so subscribe so you don't miss a single one. For the next 2 Saturdays at 8:15 p.m, I'm going to be doing a Patreon exclusive discussion of new Doctor Who episodes over on my Discord server. These discussions will provide the building blocks for in-depth reviews like this one. All you have to do is sign up to the Patreon page, can be any tier, and as long as your Discord account is connected to your Patreon account, you should be able to get access to the Simp Stage tab. And that's it. So without further ado, let's get on with the review. The specials boast of having the most overproduced title sequence ever. The surfboard antics are great. The psychedelic colours had me absolutely entranced. All the dripping effects and gas clouds exploding as the TARDIS tore straight through them. Love it. I love all that. Cutting between various angles is certainly new for the show as well, and brings a nice variety of visuals to this sequence. Unfortunately, they seem to run out of hard drive space to render more of these effects. Can you guys hear that as well? They didn't even play the entire theme. Ah, Camden. Trendy, trendy Camden. Bougie Camden. Long gone are the days of punks ruling the streets. You can still feel their alcoholism on the lock bridge if you fancy it. The how-to YouTube video royalty-free music immediately sets the tone of corporate takeover here, but thankfully a familiar face is seen carrying a bunch of stuff.
Thank you very much.
Talk about cutting to the chase. I absolutely have to appreciate the way characters and actors alike are as memorable as the day we left them.
Rose! Rose! What? Rose! Mum, how do you always manage to miss everything?
It's been 15 years since the pair were last seen together, and it doesn't feel like a day has gone by. Tennant seems to be the only one who has aged, which is ironic considering Time Lords do not so easily age. This was referenced much to the episode's comedic credit.
You can wear a suit that tight up to the age of 35, and no further.
And it is definitely refreshing to laugh with the show, not at it. Now, all of this setup could just be considered nostalgia bait, and indeed, it is. This seems to be the last trick up the BBC sleeve to rescue Doctor Who. Just be like Disney's other big sci-fi franchises. Bring back old cast members and create a cinematic universe for your brand. It's totally not a worn-out trope by this point, guys. Anyway, we are reintroduced to Donna's taxi driver husband, Shaun. Previously, they didn't really give this character much to chew on, but he was an absolute joy to watch in this episode. His bombastic, down-to-earth personality is performed excellently by Carl Collins and is given some of the best humour in the entire episode.
Hey, Dad's home. Something smells nice.
What a treat to paint this character as being concerned about dinner above all the other insane shenanigans that were taking place at that point in time. What a husband as well, to be ready to pick up his wife and kid and then just take another job. Like, how did Donna and Rose even get home? He takes the Doctor to the crash site where we see another BBC News reporter has gotten there first. I'm not saying this moment was written for me in mind, but I've been complaining about Davies' dependence on news reports of alien occurrences for many years. By having this reporter escorted into a van and not being seen again for the rest of the episode, I was a very happy boy indeed. Though where exactly the camera crew disappeared to in the following shot, I guess we'll never know either. Inside this factory, Unit Scientific Advisor Shirley is having a discussion with an officer.
That ship didn't crash.
It parked.
Not crashed. Just parked.
In case they couldn't dangle the nostalgia in front of our eyes any further, the Doctor is even able to create this diagram with his sonic screwdriver.
See, the spaceship did a slingshot round the Earth before it landed.
What does that mean?
It means it came from Earth in the first place. It went up and came back down.
I am a little mixed about this character. I definitely appreciated having a scientific advisor that didn't need catching up on the cumbersome and convoluted history of the Doctor.
I was scientific advisor number 1.
No, I know. I've read the files. I'm going to get a bonus just for meeting you.
At the same time, a bunch of unit soldiers climb up these stairs, open the ship up, and get controlled by some psychedelic virus. They then return downstairs and leave to find the Meep. During this entire sequence of events, Shirley says nothing, which seems a little inconsistent with her displaying diligence and a desire to outcompete even the Doctor.
Yeah, not you, mate. I've got this. Off you pop.
No, what's going on up there? Or, where the hell are you lot off to? Later on, a unit civil war breaks out on Donna's street.
Rogue unit troops under hostile control. This is code red. Open fire!
This seems to indicate that the unhypnotized unit soldiers were unaware that rogue unit soldiers were here in the first place. This could have been avoided and lives saved had Shirley spoken up or at least reported the alien event to her superiors. At first I was really liking seeing the Doctor sneaking around to prevent the meta crisis from reawakening within Donna. Once he realizes fate is going to bring everything towards her anyway, however, he returns to essentially being Doctor number 10 with a new coat of paint. I don't mind this so much, as it was clear bringing Tennant back would mean utilising all the aspects of his character that we know and love so much. It's a shame they didn't keep up the difference in him just to spice things up a little bit, but I honestly would have been fine with either outcome. Hello! Meanwhile, Jacqueline King reprises her role as Donna's mother, Sylvia. Like Tennant and Tate, the character is portrayed exactly as we remember her. Whether she now lives with the Nobles now that Grandad's been moved to the unit care home is left a mystery. Instead, the conversation is centered around parenting a transgender child and Sylvia's intentions of trying to keep aliens outside of Donna's mind. Absolute props to my ability to hide from gossip and cast researching, because I had no idea Yasmin Finney was a transgender actress. It was a genuine surprise to me when they revealed Rose to be transgender.
And I know I've got Rose and Shaun and you and the biggest sausage roll I've ever seen. Frankly, I should be happy.
I should be really happy.
That's what she said.
I will say though, I did find the little scene on the street with the bullies dead naming Rose to be quite forced. Even actress Yasmin Finney believes that this treatment merely scratches the surface of what's going on.
I think it didn't go too much into her bullying. It kind of just grazed it a little bit.
It might have been preferable to have had the bullying take place off screen earlier in the day and have Rose painfully telling her mum about it. In my experience, bullies don't go near their victims when parents are around, preferring to get people when they're alone and vulnerable. They then introduce this little kid character called Fudge.
Get out of my house!
I appreciated his over-exaggerated assessment of the situation that turned out to be true.
It's empty, Rose! That means it got out! There's an alien on the loose!
But I really don't know why he was needed for the remainder of the episode. He needlessly introduces these forgettable Rick and Morty bug alien things and literally gets a front row seat for all the remaining action in the episode. Like when they add canned laughter to TV shows, he seems to merely be there to force a response out of the audience. Also, is he supposed to be home alone or something? After all the violence in the streets, he doesn't exactly show any desire to run away. In fact, he looks almost thrilled by the prospect. Oh, but guys, he has a PS4 controller on his t-shirt. He's a gamer who's been desensitized to violence. I loved that they just recycled the clip of his initial reaction when the street gets fixed. Budget. Moving on to better things, the Meep was an absolutely killer bit of design work, seeming to embody a combination of iconic 80s Hollywood aliens like E.T. and the Gremlins. It looks terrifically adorable, and Miriam Margolyes does an excellent job voicing it. What a great combination of CGI, acting and prosthetics to make this thing as convincing as possible. The tension arising from the Doctor returning made all these hysterically funny moments a treat to watch.
Help! Get off me, you space rat!
Oh wow, he's so
cute.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Doc. Sylvia panicking and proclaiming everything to be a figment of Donna's imagination, just fantastic. Her $1 million nicknames for the Meep were great as well. The dialogue exchanges in this living room scene kept the energy up whilst keeping us guessing about how and why the Doctor has come back at this point in time with this face.
I promise I can help him get home and then you'll never see me again.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
Are you he or she or they?
Honestly, these lines aren't worth getting that upset about, largely because Margulies delivers this joke so fantastically.
My chosen pronoun is the definite article. I am always the Meep.
Oh, I do that.
I think Davies is trying to appeal to concerned parents to just let their kids be kids. If transphobia is going to come from anywhere, it's going to be from concerned parents, which in turn is passed down to their children. There is a larger conversation to be had about the real-life implications of gender dysphoria and its subsequent surgery on teenagers, but within the context of Doctor Who, we only have the character of Rose to go on, and whether it would make sense for this character to have the gall to nitpick the Doctor's question. My understanding is that in most scenarios, people getting pronouns wrong usually results in the misgendered individual correcting the people doing the misgendering so that it doesn't happen again. We therefore have to ask why Rose would be so hostile to a man she has just met. If she can easily make friends with an alien she found in the bin and is clearly aware that the Doctor is actually helping the Meep with its bandages, the moment just seems closer to an excuse to score brownie points for people on social media than anything else. With the way the Doctor creates these shields to protect the family, you might think this incarnation has been busy since the regeneration. This sonic screwdriver displays some absolutely insane and creative abilities in this episode, so perhaps some kind of upgrade from the previously adopted orange device has occurred. Unfortunately, I'm thinking the explanation may be a little more simplistic than that. If the Doctor can regenerate their costumes as well as their bodies now, the sonic screwdriver is probably just as fair game for an upgrade without taking the time and effort to do so. The Doctor then takes Shaun's words so literally,
Where's your car? Five doors down.
Excellent.
that he begins bombarding his way through people's attics. Had the episode not had an immense desire to rush the characters through the houses, I might have appreciated seeing a few attics with a few comments from the characters. I was imagining we'd see a Gridlock-inspired sequence, showcasing varieties in set design and characters. The closest we get to this is a man who can apparently sleep through the destruction of the street he lives on. I know he's wearing headphones, but surely he would feel the earth shaking at the very least. It would be here as well that I would ordinarily complain about plot immunity from the bugs blasting the taxi and no damage being done to the exterior. However, Davies at least respects his audience enough to know that they would pick up on this, and made it very clear in the following scene that this was very much intentional. This was where the Meep turned bad rather suddenly. For a creature that had been disguising itself behind adorability for half of the episode, I was surprised it didn't at least come out with some feeble attempt to defend itself. You could even say the Meep was good until it was bad. They all get taken to the Meep ship until Shirley rescues them from capture. She blows a hole in the wall, which looked kinda bad, whilst the Meep's ship caused fiery fissures to appear in the earth, which also looked kinda bad. This leaves Donna and the Doctor locked inside the ship trying to stop it from taking off.
You've been deadlocked.
What's that mean?
It means I can do it by hand.
I just love that the show didn't feel the need to bombard us with a giant paragraph of explanation to the audience. I really should try and not dwell on the past, but when you've been looking at a turd for long enough, looking at anything else looks like gold. A glass wall then comes down, separating the two, seemingly acting like the glass cell that separated the Doctor and Wilf in the end of time. Sylvia, Shaun and Rose also get trapped.
We can't get out! We're trapped!
What do we do?
God, look at the way Shaun's hand obscures his and Rose's mouths. ADR is an absolute treat sometimes. You know what's great as well? I think we're left to assume it was Donna that locked them in there.
Because you and I can stop this shit together, but it will kill you.
It is also an absolute treat having these two back together in moments like this. The moment the episode was leading to, familiar though it may be, finally arrived. I wasn't quite expecting Donna's return to be the result of a string of meaningless words though. I've scoured the internet and have found no significance to these words. If you have any idea what these words mean, I implore you to leave it down in the comments. London is then essentially saved by the Dr. Donna flicking a bunch of switches. Just like last time.
Donna Noble is descending.
You what, mate? Descending to where? The destruction of London gets reversed just as quickly as it was enacted, and the Doctor has to face the prospect of Donna dying in his arms. I was genuinely expecting some emotional weight to come attached to this, but I felt nothing. I always found the idea of Donna forgetting to be sadder than the prospect of her character being killed off. Yet they couldn't even give Donna a finish and farewell because her daughter is revealed to also be a part of the meta crisis. They literally go from Rose being trapped.
We can't get out! We're trapped!
What do we do?
To her showing up at the control decks flicking switches. Switches capable of eliminating the hypnotism from the soldiers and reviving her mother from the grave.
Too much power for one person, but you had a child, and the meta crisis passed down. A shared inheritance.
It's unbelievable.
It's a miracle.
It's a TV dinner.
It's raining men.
Binary, non-binary, binary.
Wow, that turned really cringy really fast. Donna then goes on to explain that the shed filled with Rose's plushies were all just Doctor Who references. Coincidences are definitely a theme in this episode, but a whole bunch of these plushies aren't even seen during the shed scene with the Meep. If the scene in the shed did actually showcase these plushies, it might have worked, as it would have at least kept more observant audience members guessing, like how the Satan Pit episode is referenced in the Meep scene and yet for some reason doesn't get its own highlight.
There's no rules. You can do absolutely everything you want. I can't hear people complain, there'll be fans complaining about that. You can't do that. Every time someone says you can't do that, that's exactly where you should go.
We got it straight from the horse's mouth, folks. There aren't any rules anymore. Why bother maintaining consistency within the world you created when you can just dangle nostalgia in front of people's eyes and force them to accept this sloppy writing?
We're binary.
She's not, because the Doctor's
male
and female.
And neither. And more.
Oh! What's wrong with you?
It's either this show or indigestion. I hope it's indigestion.
Why?
It'll get better in a little while.
So the day is saved and everybody reunites in the middle of this room.
There's a word for you, Doctor, and that word is jammy.
Even the characters can't believe things were resolved so easily.
I suppose you could say we were lucky.
Oh, I will escape and have my revenge.
It's a real shame the Meep became the most generic mustache twirler villain in this episode. I honestly have so little to say about it in the second half, and I'm guessing Neil Patrick Harris is its boss.
It's a shame you're not a woman anymore.
She'd have understood. We've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Time Lord will never understand.
Just let it go.
Oh, if only she knew how to let things go.
And we choose to let it go.
Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore.
Oh. What a bunch of
Like I said, mate, how lucky am I?
Oh no, not you too, Shaun. Another problem with this episode is casting an adult to play a 15-year-old Rose. All the times in this episode where they insist on her being younger than she actually is.
You should spend your evenings doing homework, not fiddling about posting things to Dubai.
There are children here! We've got children!
One last trip?
Don't you dare.
I would love to, but I have got adventures of my own, bringing up this one.
Wasn't fooling me in the slightest. I want to blame Disney for this, but really there's no good solution to it. Let me ask you what's worse. Hiring a child actor to make a hilariously bad performance, or hiring an adult who provides a very wooden one?
But that's 9 million people.
We could do outrageous things like have tea, dinner, and Rose's school play. Well, maybe not that. She can't act. She's terrible. I don't know how to tell her.
Oof, slanderous. As much as the script insists on her being an outcast,
Sometimes I think I'm from a different planet. After all these years, finally me.
Children are still a product of their parents. Considering how outlandish and funny these two characters are, Rose seems to be their child in appearance only. This is worsened further by her not even trying to hide her northern accent.
I think it's safe for you to come down now. Fudge, that was miles away.
And the last bit of the special, you just see her being so confident and finally finding herself and finding her feet and where she fits in the world.
How on earth do you connect inheriting the ability to flick the right alien switches at the right time with fitting in? What does realizing that your mother went on these insane journeys in time and space with a two-hearted alien have anything to do with fitting in? Oh hey look, we've come full circle with the characters being in Camden for the episode's epilogue. I have never seen it this quiet in Camden. Either that or they did a really good job of keeping the public away from the film set. The script teases the prospect of seeing Wilf setting up the Doctor and Donna for the next episode and beyond. I'm left to assume the Doctor filled Shaun in about the time and space travelling machine known as the TARDIS because he just accepts that his wife is going somewhere inside this old-timey phone box. Like the sonic screwdriver and costume, the TARDIS seems to have redecorated itself. The only compliment I can pay it is that it seems to be going for a retro-style design to match the classic-inspired new logo. It just lacks personality and seems more fitting for a disco than a time machine. Apparently the console makes coffee too. Regardless, it leads to the pair going off into time and space, and the credit music has this weird ASMR breathing into the right and left speakers. I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea. No Next Time trailer was a welcome idea though. So, did it suck? This was a bit of a rocky start to these specials. When this episode excels, it soars, mostly during the first half. The actors who reprised their roles were on fire, and the writing was decent. I liked the Meep before it went all mouldy, and I really enjoyed the characters getting out of a jam in the middle of that fight sequence. The mystery of how and why Doctor Number 10 has returned still lingers, and I'm looking forward to finding out if there is a solution to this puzzle. At the same time, there is a deep, rotten core to the apple that is this episode. Murray Gold is supposed to be back scoring, but I didn't hear anything I hadn't heard before, and most of those themes were completely downplayed in the mix. Rose inheriting the meta crisis is no doubt the biggest fault laid within this episode, supported by this mantra that all rules are out the window. The pacing leaves a lot to be desired, providing a low-stakes adventure with more bells and whistles than substance and heart. I give The Star Beast a 5 out of 10. God, I'm too old for this shit.